What's up, everybody? Welcome back. And I got a quick one here for you guys, just in case you didn't know, in case this ended up, you missed a headline or you were just out of the loop on this one. Sergio Martinez. Yep. Maravilla Sergio Martinez, fought, just a few days back. He fought Thursday night, in Spain against Macaulay McGowan, and he was victorious once again. This is a fourth fight, that he's, or fourth victory in a row since he announced his comeback. Of course, he beat Jose Miguel Fandinho, back in August of 2020 when he successfully came back to the ring. From there, he moved on to fight Jussi Koivula later on that year to close out 2020 in December. September of 21, he came back against Englishman Brian Rose, and now he fought Macaulay McGowan, a kid that was a couple decades younger than him, and with a 14-2 record stepping into the ring. Just a game young fighter, hungry young kid looking to make a name for himself, looking to establish himself in the sport of boxing. Young record, ended up getting the opportunity to fight Sergio Martinez, which would have been great for him, to come away with a victory and and derail Sergio Martinez's comeback plans. But it wasn't the case. Sergio Martinez was successful. He got a decision win. Every one of Sergio Martinez's wins right now, at least the last two, have been by decision. This one against Macaulay McGowan went all 10 rounds, and he got the unanimous decision win there. He dropped McGowan down in the 7th round, and then again in the 10th round. Martinez, when he started, he had a little bit of a scare about 15, 20 seconds into the, I think it was 22nd mark of the first round. He was off balance, hit the ground, hit the canvas, and it looked like it was going to be bad news for Martinez on this night. But he quickly composed himself and regained his composure, began to set his pace in the traditional Martinez of hands down, throwing the punches by his wayside, by the hip, usually leading with that right hand, awkward style, awkward movement. You see glimpses. You see some glimpses of old Sergio Martinez, of prime Sergio Martinez, when he was at the 154 division prior to fighting Kelly Pavlik. You see glimpses of that Sergio Martinez, but this is definitely a faded version of Sergio Martinez. Nonetheless, he still happens to have some power. His movement is coming back to him. His speed is there, somewhat, right? And like I said, there's glimpses, of what Sergio Martinez once was when he was atop the 154 and atop the middleweight division, which is where he was recognized for mostly, right? The 154, he was mostly a contender. His big fight there with Paul Williams and so forth, and then when he moved up to 160 and shocked the world by dethroning Kelly Pavlik, which was a faded version of Kelly Pavlik, or not the full version of Kelly Pavlik that Martinez fought and dethroned. And I say that because Kelly Pavlik was notoriously experiencing alcohol problems, drug problems, problems outside the ring that were hindering his career, and his focus was elsewhere. Nonetheless, Kelly Pavlik, if you remember at that time, failed to secure a fight for one reason or another. The negotiations continued to fall by the wayside when he was supposed to fight Paul Williams, enter Sergio Martinez, and Sergio Martinez ended up pulling the upset win and walked away as the middleweight champ. And from there, his career completely took off. A lot of people are criticizing the fact that he's coming back. The way that I see it, I was a big fan of Sergio Martinez a decade ago. I was a big fan of Martinez, watching his career build up. And I'm still a big fan of his. I'm happy that he's not doing the exhibition fights, or that he's fighting MMA fighters, that he's fighting other actors or faded versions of boxers or so forth. The exhibition thing has its own place, but he's serious about his comeback. He's serious about this, and he's fighting professional fighters who are active. These fighters are not the highest level of opposition. You're right. Fact. They're not the elite in the division. Completely agree with you. but he's building his comeback, and he's being very smart. Each one of these fighters that he's chosen to come back against has helped him in one way or another focus on something. He had Brian Rose, who was a little bit more experienced in his last outing, a little bit more experience with a little more pop, a little bit more of a higher skilled boxer than what he saw now with Macaulay McGowan. The test here with Macaulay McGowan being that he was a couple decades younger than Martinez, it was going to be the stamina, the speed. Was he going to be able to adjust to the speed, to the hungry approach and pressure that McGowan was supposed to present him with? Instead, we saw Martinez, the experience, take control of the pace, which is what he wanted to do, right? He took control of the pace by way of his jab. He kept McGowan, although McGowan had some good moments there, they were far in between, and it was a one-sided fight for Martinez. Martinez managed to establish his jab, managed to establish his distance, and he bloodied up slightly, but he bloodied up Macaulay McGowan and then managed to drop him. So he looked good. Jesse Koivula was another one similar to that was the second fight, the second fighter that he had on his comeback back in to close out 2020. That was another fighter similar to Macaulay McGowan, a younger, hungry fighter, pressure style fighter. Punches and bunches by Koivula is normally the pace there for Jesse Koivula's young career, and Martinez passed that test. He ended up stopping Koivula in the ninth round, and then Jose Miguel Fandinho was just basically his comeback fight, a fighter who's trying to get established, more of a journeyman style fighter, and it was a good, perfect fight to just basically shed the cobwebs for Martinez. He's very strategic. There's an interview that he provided post fight against McGowan this past Thursday. And he made an analogy. They asked him about what his next step was. Obviously, he says he has his sights set on a world title. He mentioned that he wants to go after Ryota Murata. Leave it to the WBA. They ranked him number 4 after his victory over Jose Miguel Fandinho back in 2020. And I believe now he's ranked as the number 3 fighter by the WBA. So based on the WBA and the WBA's ranking, he has a shot at a title there, looming. He's getting close to it. If Ryota Murata doesn't fight Gennady Golovkin, which it looks like that fight's going to be rescheduled for sometime in March or April, if that doesn't happen, or if Ryota Murata is successful against Golovkin, it looks like Martinez might be getting him at the end of the year. Now, something I liked about Sergio Martinez was the fact that he compared his comeback to that of George Foreman's. And if you've ever looked into the history of George Foreman and his comeback, he ended up having a fight. I want to say it was Jimmy Young that he ended up having his last fight with, where he lost that fight in 1977. He was 28 years old, lost the fight, and after he had some absolute wars leading up to that fight in 77, he took a 10-year layoff, came back. This is George Foreman, came back in 1987. And if you look at the streak that he put together until he managed to get himself into a title shot, he ended up fighting 5 times in 1987, his comeback year. 5 times in one calendar year, 1987. 9 times in 1988. Yep, you heard it right. He fought 5 times in 87, 9 times in 88, 5 times in 89, and 5 times in 1990. All in all, he put a 24-fight win streak. 22 of those wins he got by stoppage wins, knockouts or TKOs, and rode into the title fight against Evander Holyfield in April of 91, riding in with a 24-fight win streak, 22 of those by knockout. or by stoppage wins. It was an impressive streak that he put together. Now, who was he fighting? He fought Jerry Cooney. He fought Dwight Muhammad Qawi. And other than that, a bunch of prospects, a bunch of journeymen, a bunch of fighters that did not belong in the world scene, but they were active professional fighters. And the activity and the ferocity in which he came back with 5 times in his comeback year, and then 9 times the following calendar year, the way that he conditioned his body and the tenacity that he had, that he approached this comeback with, just to stay active and fight this guy and fight that guy and get active and train and train and train. 24 fights. His 25th fight ended up being a title shot. Sergio Martinez, the reason I bring this up and how impressive that was is because he wasn't fighting the absolute top competition, the world level fighters, but he was active. He was fighting the journeyman fighters, the club fighters, the lesser names, the up and coming fighters, the fighters that were starting to build a little hype in local circuits, and they had the big shot to go at George Foreman and derail his plans. And George Foreman just took it as an opportunity to stay active and keep building and keep building and keep building on his comeback. This is what Sergio Martinez compared, or at least what he brought up during that interview. He said, you look at George Foreman's comeback, and he ended up fighting for a title in his 25th win, and it took him 25 fights to get into a title shot after his comeback at a late stage in his career, at the age of 38. Sergio Martinez, of course, is a lot older than that. Sergio Martinez is 46 going on 47. But that's what he's comparing it to. He's like, yeah, I'm not fighting the top level of competition right now. I'm aware of it, which is what they're criticizing. What the critics are throwing at Sergio Martinez right now is just retire. You're a faded version of yourself. You're this. But I like the fact that he mentioned that because that just shows how aware he is of the position and where he's at, where he finds himself in his life, at the stage in which he's at in his career, and the fact that he wants to make this a very real and successful comeback. And that's it, a final curtain call. So he's being very methodical and very strategic as to the opponents that he's picking into the ring. He studies them. He knows who he wants in there. He's not just getting any name with a lesser record just so he looks good. It looks like he's picked these opponents perfectly, from your Fandinho down to Macaulay McGowan this past Thursday, which he's working on different tools and improving slowly, getting his legs back, getting his stamina back. He's been in there with guys that punch a little bit harder, like Brian Rose, a little more accurate punchers, like Brian Rose, who's able to retain a little more and give back a little more. So he struggles a little more, but that's what he wants. He wants to get back in there. He wants to see how he could hang with the different styles, and he acknowledged it. I'm going to start stepping up the competition as it comes up, but there's no rush. What I don't want is to lose. One loss, and I'm done. He was very clear about that. One loss, and I'm done. Do I want Gennady Golovkin? Sure. It didn't happen before. When he was atop the middleweight division, a lot of people said that he was ducking Triple G, that he stayed away from him. They were at different stages in their career. Triple G was coming up. Martinez was on his way out and looking for that big payday. He ended up landing the fight with Miguel Cotto. And that was it. So he successfully has come back for 4 fights now, 4 victories in a row. He sits with a 55-3-2 record, 30 knockouts of his 55 wins, or 30 of his 55 wins have come by way of knockout. 2 of his 3 defeats have come by stoppage losses. Of course, the Miguel Cotto one, and his loss to Sergio Martinez. To Antonio Margarito back in 2000. The other loss was, of course, the loss that he disputed against the decision loss to Paul Williams, and then we had that amazing knockout in the rematch fight, that highlight reel of a knockout that he put together. I'm happy to see him back. Yes, this is not old Sergio Martinez, or a Sergio Martinez of old, but rather an old Sergio Martinez. It's a faded version of him. You do see glimpses of him, but there's a lot of possibilities. How do I like his chances against a Gennady Golovkin? Not very much. How do I like his chances against a Ryota Murata? A lot better. I think he would do a lot better against a Ryota Murata. Yes, he's got the pressure. Murata would have the advantage on the pressure. He's got the youth. He's got good punch power behind him. But a lot of flaws there. A lot of flaws that I see this as an easy fight for Gennady Golovkin when they do step into the ring, even at the advanced stage of Gennady Golovkin. And it would be cool to see Sergio Martinez have a crack at Gennady Golovkin. I see an easy win for Gennady Golovkin there too, even though I would be rooting for Sergio Martinez to pull off the upset. But I don't give him much of a chance. Where Ryota Murata, I give him a good chance. The other talk is that at least some of the news that are coming up here is Demetrius Andrade looks like he's going to be vacating the WBO title at middleweight and maybe shooting up to 168 to campaign at 168 and fight for an interim version of the WBO title to hopefully land that fight with Canelo. So that would be another opportunity for Sergio Martinez there to see if he gets into the Puerto Rican sanctioning body and WBO rankings, even if it's low, but see if he manages to land something. All he wants is a title shot. He wants to be champion again. He wants a title shot, and he's being very methodical as to how he's picking and choosing his opponents and how he's moving or progressing in his comeback. So with that, you gotta appreciate that, because he's being honest. He's being sincere. He's not running his mouth and saying this or saying that, being outlandish about it. He's being very real, and he's being very honest with himself, and he's giving himself the best, or at least trying to giving himself the best chance possible at a successful run for a title again, should it present itself. And according to the WBA, they're very high on him, and they're already ranking him very high. So we'll see who he comes back against. I expect that it's going to be another lesser known name, or basically unknown name in his next outing. Hopefully it happens around late spring or summer, and hopefully he doesn't sit out this long, so he could fight around summer and then possibly have another fight, a third fight this year to close out 2022. It'll be, I expect, a lesser known fighter with a lesser known or fairly unknown fighter that would present a different test for him in his next outing, and then a decent name to close out 2022 should his plans stay intact. So we'll keep an eye on that, but it was pretty cool to see him back in the ring. At least for me, I've been a big fan of his, and we'll see how this plays out. Remember, Oscar De La Hoya was supposed to make his comeback as well, and the only one that seems to be legit was Sergio Martinez. He's doing it. He's 4 fights into it. Oscar De La Hoya never came back, and probably for the best. So congratulations, Martinez. 55, 3-2. 30 knockouts, 2 of those defeats by stoppage loss. Congratulations, Maravilla. 4-fight win streak, and hope to see him soon. I'll leave you guys with that. Have a good night. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Catch you guys on the next episode.